Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Then social changes, mobile and settled communities. Mobile and settled communities, both the way, who they are kept on moving. And the people who they were, the settled. How the social changes were experienced. Then this says about that during the medieval period, from the 8th to the 18th century. 8th to 18th century, this is the period mentioned over here of the medieval era. The Central Asian communities like the Turks and the Mughals, they invaded India. They were the mobile people, moving people. They left their own country and invaded our country and established their dynasties. That way they have started settling down in our country. These invasions and establishment of new dynasties brought some changes in the society of the contemporary India. With their settlement in our country, society also experienced changes. As they were the outsiders, they were not the original inhabitant of the country. So when they invaded our country and started establishing in our country, settlement in our country, they have developed so many changes in our society. These changes took place during a period ranging from AD 800 to 700, 1707 AD, and have been grouped under the three different periods for convenience to study. To understand in a better way, it has been divided into the three different phases. It has been grouped into the three different periods for the convenience to study the social conditions in India. How it has been changed with the mobile and the settled communities. These periods are under the broad heading of this 800 to 1200 AD, 1206 to 1526 AD, and the 1526 to 1707 AD. So the next we are coming to discuss with that, the first, the social conditions, how it has been changed during this AD 800 to 1200. This is the social conditions of North India from 800 to 1206 AD. In the context of the North India, first we are going to discuss, then we will discuss about the South India also. What were the changes experienced by the people or changes introduced by the mobile settlers, the foreign invaders when they invaded our country? What changes were experienced by the Indians during the period of the 9 to the 13th century, 800 to 1206? It is 9 to the 13th century, beginning of the 13th century. In North India, during this period, the caste system had continued to be the backbone of the society. Many sub-castes were emerging from the four castes: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. This is according to the Varna system. These were the main caste system followed in our country and were practiced very rigidly. The caste system became more rigid and untouchability had a strong base in the society. It was practiced with the rigidity in our society, and untouchability was also there, which was having a very strong base in society. Why it was so? Because the upper class people held higher position and status in the society, high status in the society, upper class people like Brahmins, Kshatriyas. The lower class people were sufferers in the society. They were poor. They were considered as the pollutant. So this way, and not only that, they were also excluded from the mainstream of the society. This is now what it says about that. It prevented national integration. This is the statement mentioned in the chapter. It should not be practiced. As it was practiced, so it was a hurdle for that the integration of the society, unity and integrity of the country was in a trouble. This is, then we are coming with this, the Kshatriyas. Kshatriya community, the highest position was held by Brahmins. Then the next it comes about Kshatriyas. These Kshatriyas provided rulers and soldiers. Either they were the ruling community or they were the providers of the soldiers, the defense, the security, military. They took part only in the wars. The soldiers, they were taking part in the wars. They were believed to be brave. This was actually it was believed that these Kshatriya community people, they were brave, courageous, loyal, generous, hospitable and patriotic. The Brahmins were given great respect in the society. Always the Brahmins, they were holding that the highest position, and even though the people also, they were giving that a great respect to the Brahmins, as they were the learners of the Vedas. They were having the knowledge of Vedas. Then it comes about that the woman. Special reference is given about the woman. In North India, women had also received a very respectable position. This we are talking and discussing about the beginning of the medieval. Women were having that the very respectable position in the society. They were given honor and protections. Then, not only that, they were also allowed to choose their life partner in a marriage assembly, which is called Swayamvar. This is the Swayamvar scene of marriage of Ram and Sita. Then this is the Swayamvar scene of that, the Mahabharata, marriage of Draupadi. This is Lord Rama and this is Arjuna. Women were educated also. Parda system was not the custom. It was not followed. Then mostly the women, they spend their maximum time in the reading of the religious epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata. This is the scene from Ramayana and this is the scene from Mahabharata. So this was the social condition during this 800 to 1206 AD in northern India. Then the same time period we are coming to discuss in southern India. In southern India, during this period, there were two most respectable communities. Two respectable, one is merchants and the another is the Brahmins. This way a slight change was there in the southern India if we compare it from the northern India. Traders and artisans enjoyed much respect in the society as they were producing. Already we have discussed in the accounts of the Marco Polo how he has praised about that. Special reference and this emphasis was given by him about the leather workers, iron metal and the gold metal craft persons. There was good cooperation among the communities to fulfill a common purpose. Women's position in the society was held very high. Just like as the northern India, the women's position was very high. They were given a lot of freedom. The same manner, just like as the northern India, in southern India also, position was very high of the women in the society and given that the enough freedom to enjoy. The farmers and laborers were very hard worker, even though in the southern India also. The poor people, the poor community, like the farmers and the laborers, their life was very tough, very difficult. They were very poor. The Sudras, the lowest strata. This is the Sudras. This is Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and this is Shudras. These Sudras were also treated as untouchables in India, in South India. They were treated as untouchables. These Sudras were treated as untouchables in South India. So this way, the social condition was there in the beginning of the medieval period, or the time period which is mentioned is here, over here is 9 to the beginning of the 13th century. This picture is also given about that the 4 different classes. Just like as the Brahmins, this as a teacher, Kshatriyas as a warrior, Vaishyas as a trader, and the Sudras, they are doing the hard work in the field as a farm worker, as a farmer, as a peasant. So this is about the entire configuration, almost the same in northern India and in the southern India. This is social conditions in the Sultanate period. Time period is mentioned 1206 to 1526. Beginning of the 13th century to the middle of the 16th century. Marco Polo as a traveler visited India. Durate Barbosa as a traveler visited India. Now in this context, we are coming to discuss with Ibn Battuta. He was also a traveler who visited India, and from his account also, we are getting so many the descriptions. What he observed during this period, he has mentioned in his account. According to Ibn Battuta, the society in the medieval period was divided into 4 major groups, such as the aristocracy, the priests, the town people, and the peasant. A bit differently, he has explained about that the Indian society in the medieval period from 1206 to 1526 AD. First of all, what he has considered about that? The aristocracy as the top level. Then the second position he has given to Brahmins. Third position is about that the townspeople, basically they were the craftsperson and the merchants and the traders. And at the lowest level, peasants. This is the fourth one. According to his account, according to his observation, what he has described, aristocracy consisted of the Sultan, the nobles, the landlords, and the Hindu Rajas and princes. So this way he has given the description of the aristocracy, or the first level, can say that who they are, the privileged in the society. According to Ibn Battuta, they have been categorized as the aristocracy. They were considered as aristocrats in the vision of Ibn Battuta. The caste rules were strictly followed. What he observed, it was strictly followed in the marriages. The people, they were not supposed to get married beyond their society. Then the women did not enjoy much freedom like the earlier. What we have discussed just now in the context of the northern India and southern India with 800 to 1206 AD, women were enjoyed the freedom. There were no parda system. They were educated also. But here now, the caste rule was followed strictly for the marriages, as well as women did not enjoy much freedom like earlier period. The parda system became very common. Delhi Sultanate had maintained a vast band of slaves. Means a large group of the slaves they were having. Every family, it was a concept to have the slaves. So this is about the observation of Ibn Battuta, and he has explained about all such things in his account. Other than that, how he has praised about the Indian society, he told about that the Hindu hospitality had specially impressed Ibn Battuta. He was highly impressed by that, the Hindu hospitality. This statement was also given, and he was highly impressed by the culture and the custom of the Indians. Then it comes the social conditions under the Mughals from 1526 to 1707. How the social conditions were there? Already in the beginning only we have discussed about that. The three different periods has been mentioned over there. So according to this, what were the social conditions under the Mughals in India? The period which is mentioned over here is 1526 to 1707 AD. Religious freedom during the rule of Mughals brought Hindus and Muslims very close. The food habits, dress, language, etc. of both Hindus and the Muslim communities were similar, that helped growth of Hindu and Muslim friendship. In the beginning, Hindus and Muslims, they have developed the friendship. There were no differences between the two different communities. No differences were there. The friendship began to influence the customs of one another. Both the two different communities, Hindus and Muslims, they were influenced with the customs of one another. High profile Hindus started adopting the Mughal style in dress as well as in food habits. This high profile Hindus, they have started practicing, adopting this style, how they were dressing up. The Muslims, how they were dressing up, they have also started dressing themselves like that. Food habits also been changed. Bhakti movement laid stress on common human bonds among various communities. Then in between, this is about that, the Bhakti movement, which is very important in the context of India. Bhakti movement, actually, this is when the Shudras, the lower strata, the lower category of the society, the people, when they were not treated equally, when they were denied to enter in the temples. In the meantime, during this period only, the Bhakti movement started in our country. Already India is the land of the several religions which has been practiced. Not only nowadays, since the ancient time only. We have, the land is of the Hindus, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism are founded on this land. Other than that, we have Islam, Christianity, Zoroastrianism. All these religions are practiced over here. This Bhakti movement also laid stress on common human bonds among the various communities. These Bhakti reformers, they attracted devotees from both the Hindus and the Muslim community. From both the community. This Bhakti movement was not only for the Hindus. From Hindus and the Muslims. From both the communities, they have started attracting the people. Deen-e-Ilahi was a new religious faith which was started by Mughal ruler Akbar. Deen-e-Ilahi, Deen means poor. Ilahi is the God. So a new religious faith was started by Mughal ruler Akbar. Society was divided into the three main classes. With this religious faith, which has been started by Akbar, after that, the entire Indian society, wherever that the Muslim rule was there, they have divided it into the three different categories. Number one, they have kept the ruler. Second is about the nobles. And the third, which were the high mansabdars. These were included in the upper class. These three categories were considered as the upper class. 800 to 1206, we saw that the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas and Sudras. Then we saw about that, according to the Ibn Battuta, aristocracy, then priests, townspeople, and the farmers and the laborers, the peasants. Now this has been categorized as the rulers, nobles, mansabdars, and these three group has been considered as the upper class. So what is this? The difference with this, the upper class, they maintained a luxurious life. This way they were privileged. Luxurious life were led by them. Nobles consisted of Turanis, basically the noble community. They belonged to the Turanis. They were mostly from the Turan, Iran, Afghanistan, and they were the Rajputs from India. The middle class consisted of traders and officials. After this, the upper class, there is a concept of the middle class also. And this middle class, this consisted of traders and the officials. And they led a very simple life. Middle class people, they led simple life. And the third class was called the lower class. Middle class is the second category. And the third category was also there, which consisted farmers, artisans, and laborers. Under this period also, the three different sections were there in the society: upper class, middle class, and the lower class. The concept is being changed over here. Upper class, then we have the middle class. Middle class consisted of the artisans, craftsmen, businessmen, as well as the officials, traders and officials. This is the middle class. Then the third one is the lower class. Who constituted this lower class or the third class? Which is the farmers, artisans, and laborers, who they are the poor people. Now we are coming to discuss with changes in caste structure. How this has, the change has been reflected or change has been taking place in the societal structure, and especially in the context of the caste. Caste system became more and more rigid and complex due to the invasion of Turks and Mughals. When these two different, the group of the people, when they invaded our country, then the caste system becomes very rigid, and the complexity was also increased. But the position of Brahmins did not change. They were as usual at the higher level. They were privileged caste in the society, and on the other hand, the Sudras were the real sufferer. Sudras' condition were the same. As the Brahmins were there at the high position in the society, the same way the Sudras were also there. They were the sufferer in the other heads. Untouchability was also prevalent. Even the shadow of a Sudra was considered to pollute a noble person. Sadhu also, if suppose anyone gaze a look upon the Sudras, they are considered as a polluted. So their presence is considered as a pollution. Intercaste marriages were generally not permitted. Then, if a higher caste man It was followed in a very rigid manner. What it was that if a higher caste man married to a lower caste woman, if lower caste woman, if suppose a higher caste person is married, then what happens? According to the caste norms, the children of that person is determined by the caste of the mother. The child's caste has been determined with the caste of their mother. The potters, weavers, goldsmiths, barbers, leather workers, fishermen, and hunters were considered as lower caste people. This is all about that. The categorization has been done. The people who they belong from the potters community, weaving community, goldsmiths, barbers, leather workers, fishermen, they were considered as the lower caste people. The new caste that originated during the early medieval period was the Rajputs. This is a new concept developed in the early medieval period, a new concept other than the Kshatriyas. These Rajputs were there. Some of the Rajputs had their descent from the Sun and Moon dynasty of the Mahabharata period. So this has also been said like that. Some of them, they are the descendant of the Sun and the Moon dynasty of the Mahabharata period, and some of them claim their origin from the sacrificial fire lit by Maharshi Agastya. Maharshi Agast on Mount Abu, he lit a fire. It is Mount Abu, it is in Rajasthan. What happened? What this work has and how this the Rajputs they have emerged. It is said like that. Some of them claim their origin from the sacrificial fire lit by Maharshi Agastya on Mount Abu in Rajasthan, and it is believed that all the ruling families during this period were known as Rajputs and had given the status of Kshatriyas. All the ruling clans were started calling themselves as Rajputs and they belong from the Kshatriya clan. During this period, a new caste known as the Caste included in Brahmins and Sudras who worked in royal establishment and became a distinct caste. Sudras who they were working in the ruling family or in the royal family. They have established in a different manner and they have been considered as a distinct caste. During this period of Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal period, there was no progress in the caste system. There were no changes has been experienced in the caste system. As usual, how it was in the early medieval period were followed in this period also during the Mughal period. There is no progress in this system. It became even rigid and complex. During this period, Bhakti movement is the very important, the improvement, and a new movement started by some of the Bhakti leaders, which threw the light on the caste system from society and brought integrity among the people. These Bhakti saints, they have started talking and discussing, and they are insisting the people they all are equal. Some of the great Bhakti reformers were Kabir Das. Some of the images are given over here. Kabir Das, Tulsi Das, they are Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Ravi Das. These are some of the examples given over here who they are considered as the Bhakti reformers. Reforms they have started. Reformation of the society has been started by these Bhakti leaders. These reformers had played a significant role to wipe out the rigid caste system from the society They taught the knowledge of humanity of people to the people of this country. They do not segregate the people on their caste, the caste where they are born, but they have started teaching the people on the basis of that they are the part of the human.